The reckoning began not with the massive military campaign that the Council expected, but with surgical precision that demonstrated humanity's overwhelming technological superiority. General Chris Evans coordinated the operations from his command ship, a vessel that existed partially outside normal spacetime, allowing him to direct simultaneous actions across the galaxy. On the slave worlds of the crystalline hegemony, human liberation fleets appeared without warning. The Dorsan people had suffered under crystal masters for 2,000 years, forced to work in mines that slowly killed them with radiation exposure. Captain Elena Brooks led the rescue operation on Dorsan Prime, her ships materializing directly above the mining complexes. All Dorsan workers, please move to designated safe zones, Elena broadcast in the Dorsan language, which human linguists had mastered through centuries of monitoring alien communications. You are under the protection of the human liberation fleet. The crystalline guards tried to resist, but their weapons simply passed through the human soldiers as if they were ghosts. Dr. Allen, Foster's intelligence division, had developed phasing technology that made their forces immune to conventional attacks while allowing them to interact normally with the environment. Within 6 hours, every Dorsan slave had been evacuated to human medical ships where they received treatment for radiation poisoning and decades of malnutrition. The precision of the operation was breathtaking. Not a single Dorsan was harmed during the rescue, while the crystalline infrastructure was left intact but permanently disabled. The Mantid Collective's research stations faced a different kind of intervention. Commander Grace Kelly led tactical teams that infiltrated the genetic laboratories where thousands of alien prisoners were being tortured in the name of science. The human soldiers moved through the facilities like phantoms, their advanced technology allowing them to bypass every security system. Target the containment systems only, Grace ordered her teams as they reached the experimental chambers. Free the prisoners, but preserve all research data as evidence. The rescued aliens were transported to human medical stations where teams of doctors worked to reverse the genetic damage inflicted by years of experimentation. Many of the victims belonged to species that the galaxy had believed extinct, taken by mantid raids on primitive worlds. Dr. Kevin Brown coordinated the evidence gathering as human teams copied every piece of research data from the mantid laboratories. The records would serve as proof of the collective's crimes, but they also contained valuable information that could help the rescued victims recover from their ordeal. The most impressive demonstration of human capabilities came when the ethereal Dominion attempted to mobilize their reality-warping battle fleets. Their ships could bend space and time, making them nearly impossible to target with conventional weapons. Admiral Vorth had hoped that the Dominion's exotic technology might give them an advantage against the humans, Senator Tony Clark observed. The battle from the human command vessel as ethereal ships tried to phase shift out of normal space to avoid human weapons. What they discovered shocked them. Human temporal shielding technology made their reality warping abilities useless. The ethereals are trying to shift into parallel dimensions, reported the tactical officer, but our quantum anchors are holding them in normal space. The ethereal ships found themselves trapped in a reality where their primary advantage was neutralized. Human weapons locked onto them with perfect accuracy, while their own attacks failed to penetrate human defensive fields. The battle lasted less than an hour before the entire ethereal fleet surrendered. Throughout the galaxy, similar scenes played out as human forces demonstrated capabilities that the aliens had never imagined possible. The operations were not invasions but corrections, designed to end suffering while preserving the possibility of future cooperation. The psychological impact on the galactic civilizations was enormous. For millions of years, they had ruled through technological superiority and military dominance. Now they faced a species that made their most advanced systems seem primitive by comparison. Commander Nicole Baker coordinated a galaxy-wide information campaign that revealed the true history of galactic civilization to every species under Council rule. The broadcast showed how the Council had maintained power by suppressing technological development and eliminating potential competitors. Citizens of the galaxy, Nicole announced from broadcasting stations that had materialized in orbit around every inhabited world. You have lived under rulers who told you that oppression was necessary for stability. Today you learn what freedom actually looks like. The response from oppressed species throughout the galaxy was immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of civilizations that had been forced into servitude by council members declared their independence, knowing that human protection made their freedom possible. The council members realized they faced an enemy that had grown beyond their comprehension. Emergency meetings in the remaining council chambers became exercises in panic as leaders tried to understand how humanity had achieved such technological dominance they've had 3,000 years to develop without interference, admitted Commander Zexthai, his crystal body now permanently darkened with defeat. While we maintained the status quo, they kept advancing. Admiral Vorth's compound eyes reflected his desperation as he tried to rally the remaining council forces. We need to unite our fleets and strike at their homeworld before they can complete their takeover. The plan was doomed from the start. Human intelligence had been monitoring council communications for millennia and knew about the planned counterattack before the orders were even issued. When the combined alien fleets gathered at the staging point, they found human vessels already waiting for them. The human fleet was led by President Turner himself aboard the Terra Invicta, a vessel the size of a small moon that served as both flagship and mobile city. The ship's presence alone demonstrated the vast resources at humanity's disposal. Council fleets, Turner broadcast to the assembled alien vessels. You have one opportunity to surrender peacefully and transition to the new galactic order. Resistance will be met with the full force of human military capabilities. The alien commanders could see that their combined fleets were outnumbered, 3-1 by human vessels that possessed technology centuries ahead of their own. More importantly, they could see that the humans had been holding back during their liberation campaigns, using only a fraction of their true military power. Admiral Vorth made the final decision for his species. All manted vessels power down weapons and prepare to surrender. We cannot win this fight. One by one, the other alien fleets followed suit. The age of council dominance was ending not with a catastrophic battle but with the quiet recognition that humanity had become the galaxy's dominant power. As the surrender ceremonies began, President Turner made it clear that humanity's victory was not an end but a beginning. The galaxy would be rebuilt on principles of justice and protection for all species, with humanity serving as guardians rather than conquerors. The reckoning was complete, but the real work of building a better galaxy was just beginning. The Galactic Council chambers fell silent as President Alex Turner's image appeared on every screen throughout their space. His transmission was being broadcast simultaneously to every inhabited world in the galaxy, using technology that bypassed all their communication networks and security systems. The message was clear. Humanity had technological capabilities that made their defenses meaningless. Members of the Galactic Council, Turner began, his voice calm but carrying the weight of 3,000 years of preparation. I am Alex Turner, President of the United Human Colonies. Today, humanity returns to take its place in galactic affairs, but not as the species you remember. Admiral Vorth's mandibles clicked nervously as he watched the human leader. The transmission quality was perfect, suggesting broadcast technology far beyond anything the Council possessed. How is he penetrating our secured channels? He whispered to his aides. Turner continued speaking as if he could hear their concerns. For 3 millennia, you believed you had successfully exterminated humanity. You were wrong. We survived, we grew, and most importantly, we learned. We learned about justice, about responsibility, and about the true nature of the civilizations that rule this galaxy. Colonel Steve Harrison stood in the archives beneath New Terra, surrounded by massive databanks that contained the complete historical record of humanity's destruction. Every battle, every colony burned, every human life lost had been meticulously documented and preserved. His team had spent centuries gathering evidence of the galactic genocide that had nearly ended their species. The evidence is overwhelming, Steve reported to Turner via quantum communication. We have complete records of the Council's decision-making process, including their private communications. They knew humanity posed no real threat to galactic stability. They destroyed us because we were different and because we were successful. The transmission to the Council continued as Turner's image was joined by Dr. Rachel Moore, head of Humanity's Diplomatic Corps. Her appearance was professional, but her eyes held the cold fire of someone who had studied injustice for decades. The Galactic Council has presented itself as the guardian of peace and stability, Rachel said, consulting a datapad that contained evidence of thousands of years of Council decisions. The reality is quite different. While you claimed to maintain order, you allowed entire species to be enslaved, permitted genocide against primitive civilizations, and ignored atrocities committed by your member species. Speaker Talwesh of the Ethereal Dominion tried to interrupt the transmission, but her attempts to block the signal failed completely. The human technology was operating on principles that made their most advanced systems seem primitive. "We did not return for conquest," Turner said, his image never wavering despite the Council's attempts to interfere. "We returned for judgment. Each member civilization of the Council will answer for their crimes against humanity and against the countless species you have failed to protect," the evidence began, displaying on screens throughout Council space. Admiral Sam White of the Human Fleet coordinated the information release from his flagship, a vessel so large it could be seen from the surface of nearby planets. The data showed 3,000 years of Council failures and atrocities. The crystalline hegemony had enslaved the peaceful Dorsan species, using them as forced laborers in dangerous crystal mines. The evidence included communication intercepts, visual records, and testimony from Dorsan refugees who had managed to escape to human space. The documents showed that the Council had known about the slavery but had chosen to ignore it, because the hegemony provided valuable resources. The Mantid Collective's crimes were even worse. They had been conducting genetic experiments on captured aliens, trying to create perfect worker drones by combining different species. Human intelligence had documented thousands of test subjects who had died in agony during these experiments. The Council had classified this information and buried it to maintain their alliance with the Collective. Commander Nicole Baker led the intelligence division that had spent centuries monitoring galactic communications. Her teams had recorded every secret Council meeting, every private conversation between leaders, and every cover-up of atrocities committed by member civilizations. "The galaxy's rulers have failed in their most basic responsibility," Nicole reported as her evidence filled screens across Council space. "They have not protected the innocent, they have not prevented suffering, and they have not maintained true peace. Instead, they have maintained a system that benefits the powerful at the cost of the weak." The most damning evidence came from humanity's long observation of the Council's response to other emerging species. In the 3,000 years since Earth's destruction, 17 different civilizations had shown signs of rapid technological development. Each time, the Council had quietly destroyed them before they could become competitors, using the same justifications they had used against humanity. "You didn't learn from your crime against humanity," Turner said, his voice carrying the pain of all the lost civilizations. "You repeated it again and again, destroying any species that showed promise or independence. You have made genocide your standard response to change." The Council members tried to defend their actions, but their words sounded hollow against the overwhelming evidence. Commander Zexthai's crystal body had turned nearly black with stress as he attempted to justify the hegemony's actions. "The galaxy requires stability," Zexthai argued, but his voice lacked conviction. "Rapidly advancing species create chaos and threaten established order." Turner's response was swift and devastating. "The order you protected was built on oppression and maintained through fear. You called humanity aggressive for colonizing uninhabited worlds while you allowed your allies to enslave entire species. You called us a threat for developing technology, while you covered up genocide committed by your members." The transmission reached its climax as Turner announced humanity's judgment. His image was joined by representatives from every human colony, 412 world leaders standing together in unity. "The Galactic Council is hereby dissolved," Turner declared. "Its member civilizations will face consequences proportional to their crimes. Those who have committed genocide will face justice. Those who have enslaved others will free their captives. Those who have oppressed the weak will answer for their actions." The implications were staggering. Admiral Vorth realized that humanity was not just challenging the Council's authority, but was preparing to remake the entire galactic order. "They can't simply dissolve the Council," he protested. "We represent civilizations that have ruled the galaxy for millions of years." Turner's final words echoed through every Council chamber and every alien world. "You ruled through fear and oppression for millions of years. Now you will learn what justice looks like when it comes from a species that understands what it means to face extinction." As the transmission ended, human fleets decloaked near every Council world, their massive ships taking positions that made it clear they could enforce their judgment with overwhelming force. The galaxy's old order was ending, and in its place humanity offered something that had never existed before. True justice backed by absolute power. The New Horizon followed President Turner's flagship deeper into human space, and what Captain Jake Morrison saw challenged everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. Hidden behind sophisticated cloaking fields were entire star systems filled with human colonies, each one bustling with billions of people who had spent 3,000 years building for this day. Their first stop was New Terra, a world that had been carefully terraformed to look exactly like ancient Earth. Governor Ben Carter met them at the spaceport, a tall man with weathered features and eyes that held the weight of centuries of planning. The city around them stretched to the horizon, filled with gleaming towers and parks where children played under an artificial sun. "Welcome to New Terra," Ben said as he guided them through the city center. "This world houses 200 million people, all descended from the survivors who escaped Earth's destruction. We've spent 3,000 years preparing for the day when humanity would reclaim its place in the galaxy." Dr. Amy Rodriguez joined them as they toured the military research facilities. She was a woman in her 40s with sharp features and the confident bearing of someone who understood weapons of unimaginable power. The laboratories they visited contained technology that made Jake's engineering background seem primitive. Every human colony specialized in different areas of development, Amy explained as they watched technicians work on devices that seemed to bend space itself. New Terra focused on military technology and defense systems. Other worlds developed medicine, artificial intelligence, resource extraction, and exploration technology. Jake stared at a weapon that Amy casually described as capable of cracking a moon in half. "How many colonies are there?" Amy smiled, and there was something both proud and frightening in her expression. 412 worlds, Captain. Each one with populations in the hundreds of millions. We never stopped growing, never stopped building. We just learned to do it where the galaxy couldn't see us. Back in the Galactic Council chambers, emergency sessions ran around the clock as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. What had seemed like empty space or primitive civilizations were revealing themselves as sophisticated human settlements. The scope was overwhelming and terrifying. Admiral Vorth's compound eyes reflected his panic as he addressed the council. "Our probe ships are reporting human colonies in the Vega sector, the Centauri cluster, and the Outer Rim territories. How did we miss this? How did they hide entire civilizations from our sensors?" Commander Zexthai's crystal form had turned a deep red color that indicated extreme stress. "Our analysts believe they developed cloaking technology that can hide star systems themselves. For 3,000 years they have been watching us while remaining invisible." The truth was even more disturbing than the council realized. Lieutenant Kate Phillips stood in the command center of New Terra's defense headquarters, surrounded by screens that showed real-time intelligence from every major galactic civilization. The humans had not just been hiding. They had been studying their enemies with scientific precision. "We've monitored every council meeting, every military deployment, every technological development for 3 millennia, Kate explained to Jake as she manipulated holographic displays that showed the positions of every major fleet in the galaxy. "We know their weaknesses, their political divisions, and their military capabilities better than they know themselves." Engineering Chief Ryan Blake found himself in workshops that redefined his understanding of what was possible. Human engineers showed him quantum drives that allowed instantaneous travel between star systems, making the hyperspace technology used by the rest of the galaxy seem like horseback riding compared to flying. "We had 3,000 years to think about the problems of space travel," explained Chief Engineer Carol Martinez, a woman whose calm demeanor contrasted with the revolutionary technology she created. "While the galaxy stagnated, we kept pushing the boundaries of physics. The weapons technology was equally advanced." Ryan watched in awe as technicians demonstrated antimatter containment systems that could power city-sized weapons or provide clean energy for entire planets. The precision of the technology was breathtaking. These were tools created by a civilization that had learned to think in terms of centuries rather than years. Dr. Lisa Chen found herself in biological research facilities that made her question the limits of life itself. Human scientists had not only mastered genetic engineering but had developed technology that could restore extinct species and even enhance human capabilities to superhuman levels. "We learned from our near extinction," explained Dr. Helen Parker. the facility's director. Her appearance was deceptively normal, but Lisa's instruments detected that she had been enhanced far beyond baseline human capabilities. We made sure that humanity would never again be vulnerable to the kind of attack that destroyed Earth. The most shocking revelation came when President Turner brought Jake to the strategic planning center deep beneath New Terra's surface. The chamber was filled with tactical displays that showed not just human space, but detailed maps of every alien civilization in the galaxy. "Captain," Turner said quietly, "we need you to understand something crucial about why we remained hidden for so long. We weren't just rebuilding our civilization. We were studying our enemies and waiting for the right moment to return." The displays showed intelligence reports that revealed the true nature of the galactic civilizations. The crystalline hegemony had enslaved dozens of species, using them as forced labor in their crystal mines. The Mantid Collective had been conducting genetic experiments on captured aliens, trying to create perfect worker drones. The ethereal dominion had been systematically destroying primitive civilizations to prevent them from becoming competitors. "The galaxy that tried to exterminate us," Turner continued, "is ruled by civilizations that have committed crimes far worse than anything humanity ever did. We've documented every atrocity, every act of oppression, every species they've enslaved or destroyed." Jake felt a chill as he realized the implications. Humanity had not just survived and grown stronger. They had spent 3,000 years building a case for justice against the civilizations that had tried to destroy them. "What are you planning to do with this information?" Jake asked. Turner's expression was calm, but his eyes held the fire of righteous anger. "The galaxy judged humanity and found us wanting 3,000 years ago. Now it's our turn to judge them." As if responding to some unseen signal, the strategic displays began showing new information. Human fleets were decloaking throughout the galaxy, revealing themselves at key points near every major alien civilization. The ships were massive, built with technology that made the most advanced alien vessels look like toys. "The age of hiding is over," Turner announced. "Humanity has returned to claim our rightful place in the galaxy. And this time, we're not asking for permission." The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chambers glowed with soft blue light as representatives from 12 alien civilizations took their seats. Commander Zexthai of the crystalline hegemony moved his forearms nervously as he prepared to deliver news that would shake the galaxy. His crystal body reflected the chamber lights as he activated the central display screen. "Fellow council members," Zexthai began, his voice creating musical tones through his crystalline form, "our deep space sensors have detected something impossible in the Sol system." Admiral Vorth of the Mantid Collective clicked his mandibles in annoyance. His insect-like body towered over the other representatives as he leaned forward. "The Sol system is dead space. We made sure of that 3,000 years ago when we eliminated the human threat." Zexthai's display showed energy readings that made several council members gasp. The numbers were enormous, showing industrial activity on a scale that rivaled their most advanced worlds. These readings came from the third planet of the Sol system, from Earth itself. Speaker Talwesh of the Ethereal Dominion floated above her seat, her translucent body shimmering with disbelief. "Impossible. We turned that world into molten rock. Nothing could have survived." The council members remembered that day 3 millennia ago. Humanity had been expanding too fast, colonizing world after world with frightening speed. Their adaptability scared the ancient civilizations who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. When humans began to develop technology that challenged their supremacy, the council acted. They had united their fleets and burned Earth to ash. Far away in the outer rim of the galaxy, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizon. His brown eyes studied the star charts as his ship moved through hyperspace toward the Sol system. Jake was tall and lean, with graying hair that showed his 45 years. He had volunteered to lead this mission back to humanity's ancient home. "Captain," called out Dr. Lisa Chen from her science station, "we're picking up massive energy signatures from the Sol system. The readings are off the charts." Lisa was small and quick with bright eyes that missed nothing. As the ship's chief scientist, she had spent months preparing for this journey. Like all humans of her generation, she had grown up hearing stories of the lost Earth, but she had never expected to find anything there. The New Horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. What Jake and his crew saw made them stare in wonder and disbelief. Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, but it was not the dead world they expected. Massive orbital stations surrounded the planet and the surface glowed with the lights of huge cities. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Kate Phillips from the communications station. Kate was young, barely 25, with red hair and freckles. She had joined the mission to see the legendary birthworld of humanity. "It's alive. Earth is alive." The ship's sensors detected something else that made Jake's heart race. The population readings showed over 50 billion humans living on and around Earth. Somehow, impossibly, humanity had not only survived the galactic attack but had rebuilt their homeworld into something greater than it had ever been. "Captain," said Engineering Chief Ryan Blake, a sturdy man in his 30s with calloused hands from years of ship repair, "I'm reading technology signatures that are beyond anything in our databases. Whatever they're using down there, it's more advanced than our best systems." Back in the council chambers, panic was spreading as more reports arrived. Deep space monitoring stations across the galaxy were detecting similar energy signatures in dozens of star systems that should have been empty or primitive. The scale of what they were seeing challenged everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. "How is this possible?" demanded Admiral Vorth, his compound eyes reflecting his fear. "We destroyed their homeworld. We hunted down their colonies. We made sure humanity was extinct." Commander Zexthai's crystal body darkened with worry. "The evidence suggests we failed. Not only did humans survive, but they have been building in secret for 3,000 years. The technology readings indicate they have surpassed our own capabilities." The New Horizon received a communication signal from Earth that made the crew freeze. The voice was human, speaking in perfect English with a warm, welcoming tone. "Welcome home, New Horizon. This is Earth Control. Please proceed to Orbital Station Alpha 7 for docking. President Alex Turner is waiting to meet with you." Jake looked at his crew in amazement. Earth not only had humans living on it, but they had been expecting the New Horizon's arrival. Somehow they had known that other humans would eventually return to the Sol system. As the ship approached the orbital station, the crew could see that it was massive, easily the size of a small moon. The engineering was beyond anything they had seen before, with smooth curves and materials that seemed to bend light itself. Dr. Lisa Chen studied her instruments with growing excitement. "Captain, I'm detecting quantum-level manufacturing, controlled fusion on a planetary scale, and what appears to be artificial gravity generation without rotation. This technology is centuries ahead of anything in the galaxy." The docking process was smooth and automated, handled by systems that guided the New Horizon with perfect precision. When the airlocks opened, Jake and his team found themselves face to face with humans who looked exactly like them, but who carried themselves with the confidence of a people who had spent 3,000 years preparing for this moment. President Turner was a man in his 50s with silver hair and kind eyes that held depths of knowledge and pain. He greeted Jake with a firm handshake and a smile that seemed both welcoming and sad. "Captain Morrison," Turner said, "welcome back to Earth. We have much to discuss and not much time. The galaxy that tried to destroy us is about to learn that humanity has returned, and this time, we are not the helpless species they remember." Jake felt a chill run down his spine as he realized that humanity's survival was not just a miracle of endurance. It was something far more significant and potentially dangerous. The species that the galaxy had tried to exterminate had not just survived but had grown stronger in the darkness between the stars. As alarms began sounding in council chambers across the galaxy, and as human ships emerged from hidden bases throughout the star systems, it became clear that the greatest miscalculation in galactic history was about to reveal its consequences. The massive form of the Terra Invicta settled into orbit around the neutral world that would become the center of the new galactic order. President Alex Turner stood in the ship's observation deck, looking down at the planet where representatives from every species in the galaxy were gathering to witness the birth of a new age-odd. Ambassador Lisa Wright carried the Treaty of Sol as she walked through the corridors of the newly constructed diplomatic station. The document represented 3,000 years of human thought about justice, equality, and the responsibilities of power. Unlike the old council's rules that had been imposed through force, this treaty was an invitation to join a truly cooperative galactic civilization. The treaty establishes several fundamental principles, Lisa explained to the gathered alien representatives: complete abolition of slavery and involuntary servitude, autonomous rights for all sentient species, democratic representation in galactic government, and the establishment of war crimes tribunals for those responsible for past atrocities. The most revolutionary aspect of the treaty was its designation of humanity as the galaxy's guardian species. Dr. Kevin Brown, the treaty's primary architect, had learned from studying the failures of the old council. Power without accountability had led to corruption and oppression. The new system would prevent such failures through transparency and shared responsibility. Humanity accepts the role of galactic guardian not as rulers, but as protectors, Kevin explained to skeptical alien diplomats. Our role is to ensure that no species ever again faces the threat of extinction simply for being different or successful. The treaty signing took place on New Geneva, a massive space station built in the neutral zone between former council territories. Captain Jake Morrison, who had begun this journey as an explorer, now served as humanity's first ambassador to the new Galactic Federation. The ceremony brought together species that had been enemies for millennia, united by their shared desire for a better future. Commander Nicole Baker had worked tirelessly to prepare for this moment, coordinating with intelligence services from dozens of species to establish the new Federation's security apparatus. Unlike the old Council's secret police, this organization would operate under complete transparency, its purpose being protection rather than oppression. Every species will have access to all intelligence reports, Nicole announced to the Security Committee. There will be no secret operations, no hidden agendas, and no cover-ups. The mistakes of the past will not be repeated. The establishment of the new order required more than just political agreements. Engineering Chief Ryan Blake found himself leading massive construction projects throughout the galaxy, as human technology was shared freely with other species. The quantum manufacturing systems that humanity had developed during their exile could build entire cities in weeks rather than years. We're not just rebuilding civilization, Ryan explained to his mixed species engineering teams. We're building something that has never existed before, a truly cooperative galactic society where every species contributes their unique abilities to the common good. The most ambitious project was the resurrection of extinct species. Dr. Carol Martinez led the scientific team that had developed genetic reconstruction technology capable of bringing back entire civilizations from fragmentary genetic remains. The work was painstakingly slow but represented humanity's commitment to undoing the damage caused by millions of years of galactic warfare. We've identified 17 species that were completely exterminated by the old council over the past 50,000 years. Carol reported to President Turner during one of their regular progress meetings. With our genetic reconstruction technology, we can restore not just their physical forms, but their entire cultural heritage through recovered data fragments. The first successful resurrection was that of the Zanari people, a peaceful species that had been destroyed by the Mantid Collective 2,000 years earlier for refusing to submit to genetic experimentation. When the first group of reconstructed Zanari awakened in human medical facilities, their joy at being alive again brought tears to the eyes of hardened human soldiers. President Turner attended the ceremony where the Zanari were given their own world, a planet carefully terraformed to match their original homeworld. The scene represented everything humanity hoped to achieve, the restoration of life and hope where there had been only death and despair. Today, the Zanari people returned to take their place among the stars, Turner said as he welcomed them to galactic society. Your resurrection proves that death is not always final, and that justice can triumph over even the greatest injustices. The transformation of Earth itself became a symbol of the new galactic order. The planet that had been burned to ash 3,000 years earlier was now a garden world where representatives from every species could come to study, learn, and find sanctuary. The orbital habitats around Earth housed not just humans but refugees from across the galaxy who sought protection or anew. Beginning, Dr. Helen Parker oversaw the biological restoration projects that were turning Earth into a living museum of galactic biodiversity. Species that had been extinct for millennia were being restored to life in carefully maintained ecological preserves. The planet that had once been destroyed for harboring dangerous humans was now the galaxy's greatest sanctuary for endangered life. Earth represents our promise to the galaxy, Helen explained to a group of young aliens who were visiting the planet as part of an educational exchange program. No species will ever again face extinction, while humanity has the power to prevent it. The success of the new galactic order was measured not in conquest or domination, but in the flourishing of previously oppressed civilizations. The Dorsan people, freed from crystal slavery, had become master artisans whose work beautified worlds throughout human space. The victims of mantid experimentation had formed scientific research cooperatives that pushed the boundaries of medical knowledge. Captain Elena Brooks now served as head of the Galactic Protection Service, commanding fleets that responded to natural disasters and humanitarian crises throughout the galaxy. Her ships arrived not as conquerors but as rescuers, bringing aid and protection to any species that needed help. We learned something important during our 3,000 years of exile, Elena said during a training session for new protection service officers from dozens of different species. True strength is not the ability to destroy your enemies, but the courage to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The final scene of humanity's return took place in the same chambers where the old Galactic Council had once plotted Earth's destruction. Now transformed into a museum and memorial, the chamber served as a reminder of what happened when fear and hatred guided galactic policy. President Turner stood where the council leaders had once sat, but he was not alone. Representatives from every species in the galaxy stood with him, united in their commitment to building a better future. The plaque on the wall bore a simple inscription in every galactic language: "Never again will fear triumph over hope." As Turner looked out at the diverse gathering of species that now called each other allies rather than subjects, he reflected on humanity's long journey from near extinction to galactic leadership. The species that had been burned from the stars had returned not as conquerors but as guardians, offering the galaxy something it had never truly possessed: justice, protection for the weak, and hope for a future where differences were celebrated rather than feared. The galaxy had burned Earth 3,000 years ago, believing that destruction was the answer to their fears. Humanity had returned with a different answer: that true security came not from eliminating the different but from protecting the vulnerable and building a civilization where every species could thrive. The stars themselves seemed brighter in this new age, illuminated by the hope that had replaced fear as the guiding principle of galactic civilization.